This is Mainstreet with Gary Allen. Now, here's Gary.
Whoa. Oh, hey, welcome to the program. Welcome to Mainstreet. Gary Allen with you here on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. We got a great show for you today. I'll introduce Mr. Ray Abruzzo for you in just a couple of minutes. I want to thank, of course, Michael and Grant Miller for allowing me to have this platform here on the C News Network. We're always glad to be with you on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. We're going to be talking some sports coming up in the next few weeks or so because of what's going on with the NFL season coming up and my Canes losing to Texas A&M, which didn't make me very happy. I also want to thank my executive producer, Mr. Rick Del Vecchio. I also want to thank the Japanese Gardens of South Florida, one of our community sponsors, as well as the Elks Lodges of South Florida for their continued support on this particular program. And of course, my nephew, who is always manning the bells and whistles, Mr. Julian, will certainly be with us for the rest of the afternoon. My guest this afternoon, I've known for a number of years. We both got our breaks in show business through a gentleman named Steven Bochco. But this gentleman is one of the handsomest, I hate him for it, and one of the most talented actors I know of around. He's been on numerous movies, over 65 television series, including The Sopranos, where you knew him as Little Carmine, Chicago PD, LA Law, Law & Order SVU, Hot in Cleveland, Night Court, Boston Legal, NYPD Blue. Would you please welcome my dear friend from his palatial palace there in California, Mr. Ray Abruzzo. Hello, Ray. I can't hear you, Ray. I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. Yeah, side language. No, I can't hear you. It's on your end. I seriously, I can't hear you. No, this is a joke. This is a joke. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I can't hear you. No volume. No volume at all. Oh, he's going to check. Oh, here we go. Here we go. No, I don't hear anything. I don't know. No, you can talk all you want. We can't hear you. All right. But 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay. 1 minute. Here we go. I don't know what you're saying, Ray. Okay. What happened? We had voice before. Ilion, is it on his end or our end? Julian.
Yeah, it's on his end.
Okay.
Ray, if you can, just leave and then come back.
Yeah. Okay. Just go ahead and leave and come back. Until Ray gets back, I was so disappointed with the Miami Hurricanes football game against Texas A&M. They moved up and down the field. They ran the ball. They did everything but win the game. Everything but win the game. Oh, and by the way, Miami Dolphin fans, don't get overly excited about what happened on Sunday. Okay. 3 of those wide receivers, or 2 of them actually, were so wide open, I could have thrown them the football. So don't get too excited. My football team isn't doing much better. They're 0-1-1. I mean, so go figure. And you know who I'm talking about. But don't get overly excited at Tua that suddenly the Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl. I have friends down there that have been calling me and telling me that they're playing the Super Bowl song, that the Miami Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl. Well, you know, don't get overexcited. And Canes fans, let's not get overexcited either. I mean, we got a real easy one coming up. Let's see. Dolphins playoffs bound. No. Maybe. Oh, that's 2. Dolphins play. Maybe in about 3 or 4 weeks, then we can talk if they're going to go for the playoffs, depending upon who they beat. But all right, Baltimore is not the same Baltimore Ravens that you think they were. Ah, there he is.
All right. I
Okay.
the whole. I could hear you now. It sounded like you were underwater, and it sounded like you were a chipmunk underwater. That I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Well,
it was actually an improvement, Gary. It was the first time I enjoyed talking to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ray Abruzzo has joined us from his lair, his palatial palace in Beverly Hills somewhere.
Not in Beverly Hills, but okay.
Okay, we'll go with it. I mean, you know, it makes it good. Ray, I'm going to read something to you right off the well, something I want to discuss with you. I saw this on Facebook. You've been donating blood 70 times for a number of years now.
It would actually be more, but it started, when I was doing the practice, I was on the practice, and after 9/11, the next day they had the Red Cross came to the studio and they did a blood drive. And I signed up, and of course, unfortunately for after 9/11, they didn't need blood. They thought there was going to be a big need, but there wasn't because
Yeah.
everybody was gone. But I got into the rotation of donating blood every time they asked at the Red Cross. And at first I was doing whole blood, but then I have this, I'm O positive type, and I have a high iron content. So I started doing the thing called the Power Red. So I can't do it as often. So I've done it 70 times, but it would be like 180 times had I been doing just a pint of blood each time. But the Power Red is like 2 or 3 times the amount of. Yeah, so I do it. It's an easy thing to do. I know a lot of people can't do it for various reasons. I can, so I do it, and I feel pretty good. And you get cookies.
That's now there you go. Now there's the important factor here.
Yeah,
Is getting the cookies. Is getting the cookies. As you probably heard me introduce you, you have been on
I
over
didn't. Just so you know, I didn't hear a word you said when you
Oh,
introduced me.
okay. All right. You've been on over 65 television series over the years.
Wow.
65 and numerous movies, plays that you've traveled around the country on. Chicago PD, as you know, because the city of Chicago is very close to me. I know you did that one. We've talked about Jerry Arbach on the program before. We've talked about numerous shows that you've been on. I want to talk a little bit about the actors that you have worked with. You can pick any ones you want to talk about and talk about them. Actors, actresses, whatever.
Well, the interesting thing about doing television is they always get these guest stars that come on, and sometimes you get to work with legends that you think, how could my world ever overlap with this person's world? Like I've worked with James Earl Jones and Sir Ben Kingsley and Dick Van Dyke. I did an episode of Riptide with Steve Allen. You know what I mean?
Really?
So yeah, so it's just that that's the amazing thing about this business. It's how you could. I mean, the fact that I was in a scene with Lauren Bacall and Sir Ben Kingsley in the same scene is mind blowing. Even to me, I watch it. I'm like,
Yeah.
how does that come to be? These are people you grew up watching or you admire so much, and here you are, on camera with them working as an equal. And that's the thing about the great ones. They treat you that way. You really feel like you're, when we were working when Michael Imperioli and I were working with Sir Ben Kingsley, we were told, you call him Sir Ben, you have to treat him with a certain respect, talk to him if he talks to you. And it was so not like that. We did call him Sir Ben, but it was just 3 actors sitting around waiting for the shot,
Yeah.
shooting the crap. And then they say rolling, and we do our work, and we had fun, and we laughed in between shots, and that's the way I found it with a lot of the greats. James Earl Jones. I did a show with James Earl Jones and Richard Crenna
Wow.
called Pros and Cons. It was a short-lived series, but we did a thing. It was like a road picture, just the 3 of us, and I'm sitting in a car and I'm thinking, here I am with James Earl Jones and Richard Crenna, but they were 2 of the most professional, loose,
Yeah.
fun guys. Nobody took themselves too seriously, and that's what I find with a lot of the greats. You mentioned Jerry Orbach was the same way.
I
No
love Jerry.
pretense. Yeah, no pretense, no diva BS. Just your actors just doing the work. It was freezing cold outside, and guess what? We're both cold. That was kind
Yeah.
of his attitude.
Yeah.
I think we shot in like 17-degree weather in Brooklyn or something. But yeah, that's what I find, that the greats are great, and
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of schmucks, and a lot of times they're not the big well-known names that you'd think. There'd be some kid on some series that got lucky to be the star of a series, and he acts like he's James Earl Jones or Richard Crenna or Sir Ben Kingsley, and he's not. He just
Yeah.
got lucky at 22 years old. Yeah. So, yeah, I've been fortunate that way. And I mean, the list, Dick Van Dyke I worked with, it just amazes me that when I look back, uh, to see how many people I have worked with of that
You and I
stature.
both, you and I both got some breaks from the same gentleman. You know who I'm referring to,
Uh,
Steven.
what? Oh, Steven Bochco?
Yeah,
Is that, yeah, 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 yes. I can't believe he's gone. That's a sad one. He gave a lot of good actors breaks. I mean, and he really created a family atmosphere, and you'd always see him use the same people over and over again. And the atmosphere on his sets was just really special. He really he set up an atmosphere that was so conducive for actors to do their best work. And then
yeah.
I only did like three of his projects. When I did uh, L.A. Law, Doogie Howser, NYPD Blue, I guess, and maybe some others. Uh, but the atmosphere was always helped you do your best work, and that's why I think so many actors did their best work on those shows because
And look
that
where a
was the
lot of those
atmosphere.
actors, look where a lot of those actors went on to. I mean, Dennis Franz was already known for his work on a show that I got my break on,
Hill Street Blues.
Hill Street Blues. Yeah, and he's nothing like his character. I would tell
But
people, and
that was,
my mother would call
yeah,
up and say, "Is he really like that?" I said, "No, he's a teddy bear."
yeah. He went, it's funny. I did the NYPD Blue, and I had no scenes with him. And I wish I had. My scenes were all with Jimmy Smits and Kim Delaney, which is a throwback because the three of us were on LA Law together.
Yeah,
Kim Delaney and I were both associates in the firm, and when Jimmy Smits was there, so that's why he put us all together in this scene. But I had no scenes with Dennis Franz. But if I was on the set, I remember one day I was on the set. They were setting up to do my scene. He had finished shooting. He was all dressed, ready to leave the studio. And he came into the room where we were shooting and just said, "Oh, hi, Ray, welcome to the shows." So warm and welcoming. The term guest star, certain shows really make you feel like a guest, like you're coming in their home
yeah.
and we're going to welcome you. We're going to treat you as a guest. And certain actors do that, and it makes a huge difference. And some don't. Mark Harmon is like that. You
Yeah.
guest star on the show. Oh, I don't think he's on that show anymore. Whatever show that was. What was that show?
He's still executive producer for
Oh,
NCIS. Yeah,
NCIS. That's the show. He's another guy. He just makes you feel we're glad you're here, and that makes such a difference because every actor has this feeling when they start on a new show or you guest starring on a new show. It's like the first day of school, and everybody has the fraud syndrome where you think you're going to be found out that you're
yeah,
going to finally find out that I don't know what I'm doing. But you're meeting all new people, and if that person that's number one on the call sheet, the Jimmy Smits, the Dennis Franz, Gandolfini, or Mark Harmon, if these people make you feel welcome when you first walk on the set, it sets the tone and you're going to do much better work. That's why
yeah,
I never understand why not everybody's like that. But
yeah.
Bochco shows, like I said, had that atmosphere. And I think that's why they were so good and everybody that was on it did their best work.
Well, you know the story how I met Steven, right? I mean, you know the deal that I was a buddy of mine was auditioning at Carnegie Mellon where he was
Hmm.
teaching, and and I wasn't auditioning. I was just up there visiting a guy who I served in the Air Force with, and he comes over. I don't know who he is from Adam. And I had done a couple of plays in high school only because I liked the chicks, like you did. You got involved because that's where the
Yeah,
chicks were.
right.
And and he comes over. He said, "Well, would you do me a favor and just read what we call the sides?" I said, "Okay." I went in, blah blah blah. My buddy, long story, my buddy didn't get it. I got it. He turned out to be one of my teachers. When I went to LA, I'm at the Improv performing, as you know, as a stand-up. And Steve Allen used to come in there a lot, and he
Wow.
always used to say, "Where's?" Because there was Howard Allen and Gary Allen as the MCs,
All
and
right.
he'd always say, "Is one of my sons here tonight?"
Yeah.
Him and Jane,
If only.
and yeah, and I love Steve. I
Yeah.
loved him so much. He was so fun and so intelligent. But
Brilliant.
so
I'll
but
tell you something else when you finish. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I mean, the make a long story short, Stephen walks in with Barbara, who he was married to at the time, and
Hmm.
and he goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I don't know. I'm trying to make it in the business." He said, "Well, I've got a show. Blah blah blah. Here's the card. Call. Boom boom." And I started doing. Back then, it was 5 and under stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah. It was a great place. That was a great, like I said, a great atmosphere. And then for a while on the 20th Century lot, they had the Steven Bochco building, which was a newer, and used to be they used to be in the what they called the old Writers Building, and then they had a new building built, and it was the Bochco building, and it was beautiful, and there was an atrium in the middle, and you'd go to audition there all the time, and you'd see the same actors, and I remember even the receptionist, it just felt like home.
Yeah.
And then years later, after they didn't have any shows on the air, I went back to Paramount, and it said, "You're going to Building One." I said, "Building One? Where's my Building One?" I went over there. It was the old. They changed the name to Building One instead of the Steven Bochco building, and it was all. It was so depressing because he changed television. I mean,
Yeah.
without Hill Street Blues, that led to NYPD Blue and so many grittier shows, Law and Order, and all that stuff. Then led to the next step, which might have been The Sopranos and all those other shows, because
Yeah.
you had even on, you go back to Hill Street Blues, they had some dark characters, like Dennis Franz. They had these characters that weren't, your leading man that was, the good guy. They had people with a past and a dark sensibilities, and kind of the anti-hero thing, and that really changed television, just the way it was shot and everything about
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
ahead.
You know who else was a great guy from Chicago? Was Dennis Farina.
Oh yeah. I met Dennis a few times. I never worked with him, but he was a he
And
went
he was
to
a
height.
real
I mean, he was
Chicago
still.
cop.
Oh, believe me, I know that. Yeah. I hung out with him in Vancouver once. We were both shooting something. We were all staying in the same hotel, and
Yeah.
everybody would just meet up in the lounge at night, and we got to hang out a
Mr.
bit back
Dapper.
then.
In Chicago, we used to
Oh,
call
he
him
was
Mr. Dapper.
yeah. He had that he had that class, that
Yeah.
old school class. Yeah.
Yeah. You and I being a Greek and you being Italian, we're like, we just throw it on, we show up, that's it. Okay, fine.
No. If I had realized this was on camera, I would have dressed up. I would have had a
Oh,
suit. I
Abruzzo.
would have had a suit with a little pocket square. I would have done the whole thing.
Abruzzo, stop it. Stop
No, it's
it.
true.
Stop
It's
it.
true.
You did a show that I kind of liked, and one of your dear friends was one of the big actresses on it. And that's Hot in Cleveland. That had
Oh
to be
yeah.
fun to work with her. Had to be fun to work with Mindy.
Well, Wendy and I.
Wendy, rather.
Yeah. Wendy and I are good friends outside of the business, and we've been friends for a long time. So when we do work together, it's always a blast. I think I did one of her other shows too, Hot in Cleveland. What was the other one?
Oh Lord, she's been on so many different
Yeah,
shows.
God, she doesn't stop. She doesn't
No.
stop. Yeah, I saw her. Yeah, I see her almost every day still.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
that's because
we're neighbors.
you both have a love the same as I do for animals. You
Mhm.
you are addicted to horses. You love them. You and the Queen. You and the Queen.
Yes. It's so funny. I was watching this. So what happened to? Why is this? What about the Queen? Something happened? I Did something
Yeah,
happen?
she
I have
passed away, Ray. She
what?
passed away.
I
Yeah,
didn't
she
see.
passed away.
Was a little crawl on the news saying the Queen?
Yeah, there was just a
Oh,
little
I must
blurb
have missed
underneath.
it. I must have.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
must have.
yeah.
I must have missed it.
Just a little
Uh,
thing, and they had a little small parade like they do for St. Patrick's Day. It was
oh, nice.
little
Yeah,
little thing.
in and out, in and out. Yeah, no, I was actually watching the other day, and they were in Scotland, and it was like the day after. It wasn't even the big funeral; it was just the thing in Scotland, and they actually televised 2 minutes of silence in this Parliament in Scotland. Okay, that's and then just sitting there watching silence for 2 minutes. No, yeah, but it's funny because
Speaking
I
of
was
my
watching
act, speaking of my
I was,
act on
yeah.
set,
Well, that's the audience in your case. No, I was watching The Queen the other day, and I stopped. It's because, like the series, and I thought I know how it ends, so I stopped watching it. It was kind of like a spoiler alert. She dies
spoiler
at
alert,
the end.
spoiler alert.
So what are we talking about? Oh, Wendy and horses.
Yeah.
And I was watching The Queen recently. I really was watching The Queen, and she was really into the racing horses and the breeding
Oh,
and all
yeah.
that, which is kind of the opposite of what I'm to. I love I like the wild horses, because there are Mustangs still running wild in America that people don't know about, and
Yeah.
so I'm very active in supporting, trying to keep them safe on the range where they belong and not rounded up and put into horrific conditions and
What
sold
we
for
what
food.
we what we do
Yeah.
to animals, Ray, in this country, whether it's a horse or a dog or a cat or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
is just it's a crime. It's a real crime. How
Well,
people,
it's
you
well,
know,
what's amazing is in this country, it's both ends of the spectrum. Sometimes we treat animals way better than we treat, fellow human beings. And then
yeah,
there's also, we treat them so horrifically the same way we treat human beings. So yeah,
yeah,
there's the full spectrum. Yeah. I'd like to treat them as equals.
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we got Ray
Until
Abruzzo
I
on with us
meet
here
them
on. We've got Ray
personally,
Abruzzo
and
on this afternoon here on Main Street. Gary Allen with you at 2 p.m. on Main Street. Ray Abruzzo, the actor, the comedian, the bon vivant, and the stylish dresser, as always, uh, and a dear friend
I
of
just
mine
want
for a
to.
number of years.
If anybody's tuning in for a while, I didn't know this was going to be on camera, hence what's happening here. I thought it was just like a radio show.
Okay,
In the old days, I don't know if you know this, Gary, but in the old days on radio, you couldn't see the person.
oh, really?
Yeah, you have a face for radio, as the old joke goes.
That's the first
And
thing my mother said to me when I used to work when I was a producer for Larry King. You got a face
you
for
have a
radio
face
stuff.
for, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I said to my mother once when she was cooking. I said, "Mom, you think I had to learn how to cook?" She looked at me, and my sister looked at me, and they said, "Yeah, with those looks, you better. Yeah, yeah, you better.
Yeah,
You
well, they
better.
weren't
Yeah,
wrong.
you better." Speaking of the Queen, a lot has been made of the U.S. coverage of her funeral, which I
Hmm.
don't get. I don't understand. We'll never see anything like that ever again. Um,
No,
What's the fuss about? She
you know,
served 70 years.
what killed me is what killed me. It didn't kill me. It killed her. But when she first died, some of the people were saying we're shocked. It's like she's 90. You're not shocked when somebody dies at 96.
No.
It's like, shocked might be the wrong word to use. She seems like a nice person. She had an incredible life. I think she handled her for the most part beautiful. But so you make an announcement that she died. You show your little segment that you've been building up for the last 20 years, just in case she died, with a little historical background, and then you show clips from the funeral. But we had 10 days. What was it? 10 days of
Yeah, 10
wall to
days. Yeah.
wall coverage. We had to see the mass in Scotland. We had to see the mass in every place. They had to show, oh, now we're going to watch the carriage for 14 miles. I thought it was excessive. I think she deserved the news attention that she died, and it's good for us to learn a little bit of history.
Yeah.
All the presidents that she knew, all the prime ministers that she knew. I found some of that stuff pretty compelling and interesting. But
Mhm.
we could have handled that in a half hour, not 10 days wall to wall.
Well,
Okay,
I kind of,
that's it. Go
no,
ahead. Obviously, you have an opinion, Gary. Go ahead.
yes, I have somewhat of an opinion. I liked it. Now, yes, we could have kind of curtailed the coverage a little bit. We could have
Yeah.
cut it, but for the most part, the only thing I didn't understand, and that was yesterday when the casket was lowered in the floor in the church where she was going to be laid to rest. Now, when it went down, I assumed there were men underneath to take her coffin to where it was going to lay in forever next to her husband, because it isn't going to be just down below that floor. That they didn't bother to explain, and that has been driving me crazy ever since. Not Christopher Walken crazy, but
It's
crazy.
crazy that they just put her in the ground, and we don't
Yeah,
know where she went. It's crazy that way. But
and
I thought they did just go right there, because I remember they were talking about, like, oh, like we're walking Henry. I remember somebody saying, oh, Henry VIII is really right under there. Yep, his remains are. So maybe,
maybe,
I don't know. Maybe.
maybe. I don't know. There was an
Yeah.
article on
But let
Facebook.
me tell you,
Yeah,
Gary, let
go
me
ahead.
just say one thing. You said it
Hmm.
was driving you crazy. I
Yeah,
find other things to drive you crazy. If that really bothered you that much, uh, you might want to,
get out more.
get out more, broaden your horizons.
Riding around. Yeah, yeah. I'm stuck here in this crazy. But on Facebook, somebody said this guy Nick Adams said to you.
Oh, well, it wasn't to me. I was responding to him.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I love. Somehow he pops up on my Twitter feed. That guy. He says I thought it was a parody account for the longest time because it's so absurd. Okay, go ahead.
he said I've never met someone who hates Trump and loves America. Now here is Ray Abruzzo's answer. You obviously, you obviously don't get out much, and I'm sorry. I love America. I fought for this country, but I can't stand them. I don't.
Well, you're not alone. I mean, is this guy assuming that 81 million people hate America? That's what he's saying. That a
Yeah.
majority of, he's actually saying a majority of the people hate America, or that you can't have an opinion about this man that differentiates how you feel about this country of 200 and something years old, unless it aligns with your love of this man.
Yeah.
It's the whole concept is and yeah, then he posted the whole world, everybody on the planet misses. It's like, what are you talking about?
No.
Yeah.
There were. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a lifelong RNC member, and regardless who's running, he's an RNC person, and he said, Gary, in the RNC, there are a lot of people that hate Trump's guts, just cannot stomach him, hope he would go away, wait and hope that he's going to be prosecuted, something
Yeah.
to get rid of him, because it's not, it's, and he keeps getting away with certain things, but that's neither it. I just wanted to bring this up because I thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
Your
Well,
observation.
that guy's pretty easy to troll because his comments are always so
Yeah.
absurd. It's fish in a barrel. So,
Let's get back to show business, which is really
well,
the important subject at hand.
that's
COVID.
yeah.
COVID disrupted everything. Everything in the business, in our lives, the whole world was disrupted. Since COVID, productions are coming back. I mean, the TV shows are going.
Rumor has it.
Yes, rumor has it. Rumor has it.
Everybody's back
What
to
has
work.
when you
Yeah.
go on a set? What has changed from before COVID to now that they're doing that they didn't do before?
Well, let's start with the audition process. There is none. Now all auditions are done by self-tapes. That started before COVID, but now I think it's the point of no return. So auditions are all done by self-tapes. They send you the script. You might have 24 hours or 48 hours. You have to memorize it. You have to light it. You have to shoot it. You have to find somebody to read off camera. You have to edit it. They have certain parameters. They want it horizontal. They want a full body shot. They want a neutral background. It's so intense that your acting becomes the last thing you consider because you have so much other stuff to get ready to do these self-tapes. So from the COVID has changed that because I don't think we're going to ever get back to being in the room for an audition, which I miss.
Yes.
Because I can't tell you how many times, first of all, with the self-tape, they don't see you before or after. They only see you doing the scene. They don't see how you are in the room. I can't tell you how many times I've auditioned where you've only got the sides. For people that don't know, the sides are just the audition scenes. You don't have the whole script. You'll just have a scene. And sometimes you don't really know what's happening just from the side. So maybe I'll play a scene very angry because that's what I got from reading it. And then you go into the thing and you do it that way. And the director says, no, Ray, he's not so angry. He's kind of playing with that. Oh, it's like, oh, okay. And then you make the adjustment and you get the part because you have this interaction with the director. They see that you could make an adjustment. They see that, but now with the self-tape thing, like I said, it's like a dating service. They could just see you in the first 5 seconds and swipe. But if you're in the room with them, they have to see the whole scene. You might add a button at the end of the scene that's not in the script that gets you the part. Something you say afterwards, some discussion you have with the director in between a couple of audition scenes where they might think, all right, this guy has a feel for this character. That's completely gone with this self-tape business. So that's the first thing that's changed. Second change, I haven't done a lot throughout the pandemic. I've done quite a few, independent films. And, the whole masking thing, the testing thing, only the actors when you're in the scene can be unmasked. So it's different. It's just there's a lack of intimacy. And intimacy is a big part of acting. There's a forced intimacy that to get any kind of reality in a scene. So that's changed. Hopefully we'll get past it or we'll get used to it. but we'll see. I just did a play. I just finished doing a run of a play, and that was very different too, because there was, testing every day, masking all through the theater except when you were actually acting. So all that was kind of was different.
Yeah.
It was very different. Theater people are usually very physical, hugging, and you
Yeah.
see somebody, you hug them, and all that stuff's going away for various reasons besides COVID. But the constant, and then my third day of rehearsal, I tested positive, so I was out for, yeah, I was out for 10 days and had to play catch up with the rest of the cast by the time I came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you finding some actors are not ready to go back to work yet, or when you talk to
No,
different people?
Well, generally actors are hungry to work at any time, and we'll do what we have to do. We've all done crazy things to work. No, I think pretty people are pretty much open to go back to work. Some people want to make sure that all the uh, the things that you have to do are in place to keep everybody safe. You want the makeup people to be masked because they're right in your face, and you don't want to get sick. You don't want to get sick and miss work or have to recast it because you have COVID.
Yeah.
If you're doing a TV show and you get it, you're a guest star. They're not going to wait for you to get better for 10 days.
No.
They're going to move on. So nobody wants that. So you want to, I'm still very careful about where I go. I try to stay away from big crowds. If I'm in a big crowd, I would wear a mask just because I'd hate to get sick and not be able to work. I got lucky when I got sick doing the play that it was in the beginning of the rehearsal process, because if it happened a week later, I would have been out.
Yeah.
So at
Yeah.
least I was able to get well enough to catch up and do the whole run of the play.
Ray Abruzzo is our guest here on Mainstream at 2 p.m. Gary Allen with you. So we are every Tuesday afternoon. We're very happy to have him on board. Let's go back to talk about some of the actors that you have worked with. I know that we talked about, some of the people that both you and I knew when I lived in Los Angeles. But the one actor that I think I would have loved to have had the opportunity to work with just to learn from would have been Spencer Tracy.
Oh, yeah, I didn't.
No, we're
I-
both. He was gone by the time we got there.
but wasn't he famous for just saying know your lines and don't bump into the furniture? Wasn't that
Yeah.
Spencer Tracy?
And
So-
yeah, and he could steal a scene faster
Oh.
than anybody.
Yeah, he was a great one.
You
So
know.
intense and genuine. Yeah, there are those guys. Yeah, he would
Yeah.
have been a great one.
Yeah, and of course, James was always played a thug, and like he did in The Sopranos, but he was a big teddy bear.
Oh yeah. He was nothing like that. The film he did right after was before he passed away was called what was it? Oh damn it! With Julie Louis-Dreyfus. You know that film?
Yeah,
He
I
did a
think I
small
do. I
little
don't
film
remember.
with Julie Louis-Dreyfus after The Sopranos, and soon before, right before he passed away. And to me, that was the most like who he was as a person. Just kind of a big bear, a big friendly bear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
nothing like Tony Soprano.
Oh no, 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 no. I don't even
Yeah,
think
but
guys that are in the mob are anything like Tony Soprano.
well, they want to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he was as good an actor to work with as you could find. He was just a generous actor. He was always so alive in every moment, and so if you just, I remember one of my first acting teachers said, when in doubt, just put your attention on the other actor. Just put your attention on the other actor, and if you put your attention on Gandolfini, was he was sitting across from you,
yeah,
you're going to do pretty good, honest work because you're just reacting to some good, honest work.
yeah.
So,
When you go back to New York and visit, which you probably do
this
from
is the
time to
longest. This is the
Oh.
longest in my life I've been away from New York because of COVID. I haven't been in New York in 3 years, and I've never gone. I don't think I've ever gone a year without being in New York. So this, go ahead.
when you go back, what's the thought? What goes through the people's minds who knew you before you were Ray Abruzzo?
Well, I had a friend that was asked if me being on television changed me. Are we allowed to curse on this? show?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And he said, well, no, Ray's exactly the same. He was an insufferable asshole before. He's an insufferable asshole now. So, uh,
He knew you.
yeah. So, well, that's the thing. I'm still very tight with a lot of my friends that I grew up with, especially some high school friends. I always see a certain group of high school friends, and when you know people before and you stay in touch with them during, you still relate to each other like you're in the lunchroom, in
Hmm.
freshman year in high school. There's no different. We go out to eat, and we just look different, but it sounds the same as it did then. So I don't have any. Nobody treats me any differently because I was,
Yeah, yeah.
on The Sopranos or something like that.
You know what I would love to see happen for you? I would love to see you on that PBS program where, and I forget the gentleman's name, I watch it every week, where he goes back into your history of your family and he finds out where you're
Oh yeah,
from.
yeah.
And
Find the roots. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's called like something like Find Your Roots. Yeah, I know
yeah,
I know some people that did. I think Edie Falco did it. Yeah,
yeah.
I would love to. I think that's the kind. I'd like to be a bigger star just to do things like that. I'd like to do
You
that.
don't have
I want to
to.
be. No. I need to be a bigger star so I could do that, and so I could be on like Wait, Don't Tell Me. I don't know if you know that show on
No.
NPR. It's a great NPR radio game show. Wait, Don't Tell Me. I just
Oh,
want to
yeah,
be
yeah,
a
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. It's just so funny. Yeah, that's my goal in wanting more success is just to be able to do those two things.
Yeah. Who do you want to
Yeah.
work with that you haven't worked with?
Oh, geez. Wow, that's a good one.
And don't say
Let's
me
see.
because I'm not
No,
available.
yeah, no, that was understood that I wouldn't say you. Um, I like to work with, I like to work with people famous or not famous that are just prepared and dedicated and just want to do the work.
Yeah.
Like like I said, I just finished a play and it was with an actress I didn't know before. Apparently, she had done 800 performances of Hamilton. But it was just such a joy to work with somebody. We're both on kind of the same page, and it just felt good to get in there and act. And boy, I'm sure I can list a million people I'd like to work with. I had one line with De Niro once, but I'd like to work with De Niro. I'd like to work with Pacino. I don't think it's too late for that. Uh, yeah, let's see. Oh, there's a million actors. There's so many good actors. Yeah, you caught me off guard, but there's so many good actors. Anybody
Yeah.
that's anybody that's dedicated and takes it seriously and doesn't take themselves too seriously. Those are my criteria.
Can you tell the difference between an actor who has strictly been in front of the camera as compared to working the boards and the experience and their attitude when they come on the set?
Yeah, generally, yes. Actors that have done theater have no problem memorizing the whole scene. Some actors that have just done TV, they almost work line to line, They'll
Yeah.
just, um, yeah, I generally you can tell who's done some theater and who hasn't, who's just done TV. I mean, they're different skill sets in a sense, but theater training, I think, is gonna help you. In other words, you could do TV having done theater. If you've never done theater and you've only just been in front of a camera doing a TV show, doing page and a half or 3-page scenes, you might have a difficulty doing a 2-hour play where you're on
Yeah.
stage the whole time and there's no cut. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think being on stage gives you some skills
It
that are
also
invaluable.
yeah, yeah, it also gives you, it's like when I was studying at the groundlings, okay? That gave me such a basis for improvisation, gave me a basis for, it
Hmm.
was like I had Kevin Costner in my class and the late Bob Saget, Barbie Benton was in there, and Nick Turturro was in there.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Now I was there strictly for my radio stuff. I wasn't in there because I was any kind of a great actor. I knew that right off the bat.
we
But
all do.
thank you, Ray. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, cousin, and And second in command, Mr. Ray Abruzzo.
Just be glad I'm not
Um,
your agent.
oh, you were at one time. I mean, I wasn't.
Well,
I was
that
over at Pink. He was my agent for 6 months. I worked at Pink's constantly. Goodbye.
People that don't know that's a hot dog stand. I'm just gonna lean over here and get water. I'm not going off camera.
That's all right. I've been drinking water too. It's
Okay,
okay.
Okay,
That's
I'm
okay.
back.
Actually,
back.
one night it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just got through my job at the Beverly Center working security so I could audition during the day. And I go to Pink's, and there's nobody there. Well, there are, but they're in the back. Guess who it was? It was Carol Burnett, Harvey Korman, and the rest of the gang. They had just
Oh
finished.
my God.
They just finished at CBS, which is just down the road, as you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there looking, and I was eating, and I went like this, and she goes, "Are you here by yourself?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Come on over, join us."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was
this
like,
is what I was saying before. The greats are great.
yeah,
It's the greats. They're great off camera, on camera. That's what I find.
yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you do go to Pink's, it is on La Brea. Take some Pepto-Bismol with you, because a little bit later on in the program, you're going to be wishing you had.
Yeah.
Especially if you had what I used to have the chili dogs with
Oh
heavy
my
chili
God.
and a cream
can't-
soda. Oh,
I can't do that anymore.
I told oh God, his name just hit me from the improv. Bud Friedman. I
Bud
told Bud
Friedman.
one night, because I came off stage and he goes, "What's wrong with you tonight?" I said, "I went to Pink's last night and had about 3 or 4 hot dogs at 2 a.m. He said, "What in the name of God is wrong with you?" He said, "Don't you know any better by now? You don't go there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning."
No, you do that once and hopefully you could get a good comedy routine out of it, out of the experience.
Well, I went there. No, I went there one night with Glenn Hirsch, who was a comedian, and
I remember Glenn Hirsch.
yeah, Glenn's coming on the show one of these times, and Chris DePetta was with us, who was the owner of the Punchline in Atlanta, and Chris was eating up these hot dogs and everything. The next morning, I call him up. I said, "How you doing, Chris?"
Yeah.
And folks, I'm not exaggerating.
Oh, that was the old White Castle in New York. We had White Castle hamburgers, and I played in a band in high school. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'd go and you get a bag. I think they were 12 cents each, 8 cents each,
Yeah.
and you get like 13 these hamburgers with holes in them, and they were just greasy, and they just disappeared. Just disappear in your mouth. And about an hour later, you'd get home and you'd get in bed, and you would just be doubled over in pain. But boy, when they were going down, they sure tasted good.
Remember those little small diced onions that were on them?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And the hamburgers had holes in them.
Yeah.
It's still around. I think this White Castle's still around.
I don't know. I see them in the frozen food section of the grocery store, but I'm like, whatever. We've got about 15 minutes to go. I just want to discuss briefly what's going on in the country as far as, they keep saying we're going to have a revolution, we're going to have a civil war, we're going to have this. I don't think we're going to have any of that. I think when push comes to shove, some of these guys that run around with these militia outfits on, I think they finally realize, I don't think I want to go up against the Marines or the Army or anybody else.
Well, I think some of them will, but I think it's not the numbers that we think. I think we saw them all on 1/6. I think.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys won't be coming back because thankfully they're in jail.
Yeah.
Or I hope it's not the numbers that we think. I'm still surprised by how many people still think the election was fixed and won't accept it, this whole QAnon thing that's still. And it was fading for a little while. Now it's coming back, and now unfortunately Trump is echoing what they say and playing their music, and they have all these gestures that they do at the rallies that are quite scary. And I realize, it's not 30% of the country, it's not 40% of the country.
Small fraction.
It's a small fraction, but it doesn't. But let's remember, what I'm scared of is, look, Oklahoma City bombing was one guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
9/11 weren't that many people. 19. It was 19 people. So although it's not a big number, and although I trust our FBI and the police that, and the military, if it came to that, which that it would be squat, but it's these lone wolves that get caught up in this, that are sitting home in their basement, while their mother's making their bed and doing their laundry, and he's in the basement on the internet, you know,
Yeah.
absorbing all this stuff because he's got no other life, and
Yeah.
and then he feels he's part of a group. It's just like these school shooters. It's one guy. Think about that guy in Vegas.
Yeah.
What did he shoot? Over 300 people, one guy from a window with
Do you
the
know
bump
I had
stocks?
I had a friend of mine, because when I lived in Las Vegas for a number of years, as you may remember, you may not, but I lived in Vegas for a number of years, and he always used to ask me, he and his wife, what was it like in Vietnam? What was it like to fight in a war? What was it like to be in Vietnam? And I would never answer because I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
And then he called me up about 3 weeks after that incident occurred at Mandalay Bay. And he said, I will never ask you that question again as long as I live. And I said, why? I didn't know. He said, I was there at the concert and bullets were flying by me. He said, I will never ask you that question again as long as I live. He said, how in the name of God did you get through 2 tours in Vietnam? I said, a lot of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the situation in this country, as far as that kind of the school shootings, it's just the mass shootings horrific. You don't even say school shootings. It happens everywhere. Supermarkets, churches, synagogues, mosques,
Yeah.
concerts. And again, like I said, unfortunately, it all it takes is one person with access, and
now I could understand if an actor went after an agent. I'd go for that.
Well, there's a term in the law called justifiable homicide. So I think we'd be covered. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, because I know a couple of casting directors. Although they're gone now, I'm sure.
The good thing is my agents definitely aren't watching this. So I could say.
Oh my God, the last agent I had was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, I guess, when I was doing stand up and opening for Engelbert and Kenny Rogers and all the rest of them. That's the last agents I had, man. But I'll tell you what, this past year we have lost so many comedians. And so one thing, speaking of losing, on the award shows, when they get to the memorials on who has passed, why do we have to have John Legend singing and the camera's on him most of the time, and you can't even see the screen of who it is that they're?
I didn't watch the Emmys this year, but I heard people complain exactly about that. I never understood that either. That makes sense. You show them in the beginning and then start with the pictures and then show them at the end, or if you want to, so we see who it is. It doesn't make sense. No, we want to see who it is, and inevitably they leave some people off. But it just always it's just always amazing to me when I watch those award shows, and there's people that you didn't know had passed away, or there's people you forgot had passed away, and then so many people you work with passed away, and then you see their ages, and they might be younger than you, and it's like you just get in touch with your own mortality in a sense. I lost a lot of people I knew well last year. There was a big group of them, like Marky Post from Night Court and Peter Scolari, just people that know these people.
And the last show that
we're not talking about the Queen, at 96. Like I said, to have a callback when you said, they said they were shocked that the Queen died at 90. No, shocked isn't the wrong word. But Peter Scolari and Marky Post and these people and Gandolfini and those guys, that's.
I always thought Marky Post was a beautiful, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And she did Chicago PD as well. She was
she did.
The one girl's mother on that show.
Yeah. I remember I hadn't seen her in a long time, but occasionally we'd communicate online, and I was upset that she was like coming the day after I left, or vice versa. We just missed each other in Chicago by a day or two. But
the girl that she played the mother for whined and complained about the weather in Chicago. It was too cold for her. And
is that right?
Yeah, and they finally said, all right, go on home back to New York. And she did some show that didn't last very long in New York. But But I like Chicago PD. I'm hoping you're going to be back soon.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I was on with Michael Nori, and we were the guest stars on that episode.
Yeah.
And I remember after I shot my first scene, they came over and they said, the producers, they love what you guys are doing, because my character was an old friend of Jason's character.
Yeah.
And we kind of grew up together, and now I'm a mobster and he's a cop. So they like that backstory. And they said, no, we love this. We're going to develop this. And they pretty much told Michael and I we're both going to be back, as kind of a secondary storyline, and then forget about it. But that's the thing about Dick Wolf's shows. I mean, he established that so early on the very first Law and Order that, he could replace actors very easily. So I'm not surprised they replaced that girl for complaining about the weather.
Oh yeah, she was one of the big stars on the show.
George Zunza was in the first Law and Order when it first started, right? And then they just kept they get rid of people because he didn't make it about their characters,
No.
So
it's never about the characters. It's all about the storyline.
So they're very easy to interchange actors, and he has no problem firing actors. And
yeah. I mean, some of the casting, I've kind of, if I had my druthers, I'd rather have this person in there. And I think it would be a great storyline to have you back a couple of times, 3-4 times a year on Chicago PD as the mobster. Because I love that one scene at the end when you told the guy to get in, and then the window goes up, and it's like,
I kind of remember shooting that. It was
the girl, and the girl that was standing
across the street, right?
That's not the girl. She's still on the show. That girl is still on the show. She's kind of cute, but no, it was the other girl that was what you call it? He brought her up.
Daughter.
But I remember Night Court, and I remember a lot of those old shows, and those are great shows. As a matter of fact, I watch on my TV here in the afternoons Bat Masterson.
Oh,
Tales of Wells Fargo.
They call him Bat Master. Oh, I love Bat Masterson.
Unfortunately, they don't really tell the true story. Most of these guys died when they were in their 30s.
Of course.
I mean,
and the shootout at the OK Corral
wasn't what we.
It lasted like a minute and a half, and 7 people died. We get that in an average school shooting daily. But it's I hate to say that, but it's true. Shootout at the OK Corral. Movies have been made. It's a legend. And we do that daily in most cities in this country. It's all right. You got me going.
You know what? I said to Costner not long ago. I ran into him and he said, "So how do you like yellow?"
Bobby Costner?
No, Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin Costner. The Untouchables.
I think he's going to do very well.
Yeah, I think he's got a good future in the business. I was talking to him and he said, "So what do you think of Yellowstone?" I said, "Kevin, you kill more people in 1 hour on that show than I did in Vietnam in 2 tours of duty." He said, "Are we really?" He said, "Everybody keeps telling me how violent it is." I said, "Well, you're filming it. It's not violence to you. It's violent, man."
Wow.
And he said, the funny thing is, Gary, that if people really were to do that in Colorado or anywhere else, they wouldn't last long. They'd be in prison in no time at all.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
and there's another show there's another show, speaking to make things go, coming out called Tulsa, King of Tulsa, or Tulsa King, starring Stallone, and it's written by Sheridan and Terry Winter from The Sopranos. It's got a lot of the Sopranos guys are in it, so it's I'm not, but a lot of the other guys are. I'm not.
I went to college with him.
With who?
Stallone.
Oh, did you? Wow.
Well, I mean, he was on his way out at the University of Miami, and I had just got started, but we had a couple of English classes together until they booted him out of there.
If I sounded surprised, it was only that you went to college, not that you went to college with Stallone.
Oh, no, my time, the military has paid for my education 10 times over.
The GI Bill, yes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they tried to cut that off there for a while, and because then there was a post-11 GI Bill, because they were actually fighting that they weren't going to extend the GI Bill to service members that served after 9/11. It was like, what are you kidding? Well,
they had a beg for help for the firemen and the policemen that were in the towers.
Still, and there's still that stuff going on. Yeah, I know. That was just recently they passed they finally passed a health law because
It's
it sunsets and then they have to
our
go through
our
it again.
priorities in this country are so screwed up.
Screwed up.
It's really insane. You know, we were talking earlier. We've got about 4 minutes left to go. Talk
I
about
only have 3 minutes. I have 3 minutes, then I got to go.
Okay.
I've been drinking a lot of water.
uh,
Go ahead.
when you first got started, a young man in New York, what are some of the oddball jobs that you had to support yourself?
Okay, let's see. Some were kind of were showbiz related. Well, I worked at a liquor store for 8 years.
Well,
During
that
those
explains
so
a
it was
lot.
an oddball. It was an oddball, but it was very dangerous. It was on 15th Street and 3rd Avenue in the 70s.
Ooh,
Now, if you
ooh,
saw Taxi Driver, I'm sure. You know,
yeah.
it was literally 2 blocks away from the Variety Arts Theater where he pulls up and he meets Jodie Foster for the first time. I watched them shoot that scene from across the street, and I looked and I watched De Niro working, and I thought, that's what I want to do. So I got my cab license and I started driving. No, I didn't. That's no. So, but my point was that the neighborhood was exactly like in the movie. So the liquor store was literally, and I'd work Saturday nights by myself in a neighborhood that was
Whoa.
just like Taxi Driver at that period of time. My walk home, I would walk down 13th Street, right past the doorway where Harvey Keitel's standing, where it says rooms, where he first meets them. So that was the neighborhood. So I worked there for 8 years. But other odd jobs I had, I played a female gorilla in a New York City children's opera named Pauline. Does that count as an oddball job? I was in a gorilla suit with a
It's
big
not. It's
blue
not
and
often
white
I hear
polka
that.
dot,
I mean, it's
a
not
big blue
often.
and white polka dot dress. That's what I did that for a while. But the liquor store really kept me going. I made
Did you ever?
balloon animals dressed as a clown in front of a bank, but
Oh
they were
God.
kind of show busy. You know, like,
And of
I was
course,
in show business.
of course, there's always that. Hey, Ray, you know, for this park, can you blow up a balloon animal? You know, hey, just so happens.
Yeah.
Woo! You know.
Then we used to do the obscene balloon animals where you pull it
That would be
you
Robin
pull the
Williams
tail
doing
through
it.
the
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Ray, before you go, what projects you got coming up?
Nothing. Like I said, I just finished the play. There's a couple of possibilities in the work. Hopefully, I wish I had something specifically to tell you. I've done quite a few independent films during the pandemic, but nothing too exciting. I felt good to get back on stage though to do a play at the Geffen. I did it
Yeah.
at the Geffen Playhouse in Westwood. It was a beautiful theater,
Yeah.
with some good actors. Yeah, no, I just like being back on stage. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I just finished the play like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you
here we
get
are.
back on Chicago PD because
Well, all
I
right.
love that show. Or
Yeah.
Chicago Fire. Or Chicago
Yeah,
Fire.
yeah, because I thought that too. You could go from one to the other, Yeah.
Yeah. The only one
Are
that
any
I'm
of
not crazy about is Chicago,
Med?
the hospital one. I'm not,
Yeah.
and
I
you
never
know,
watched that one. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
like Chicago Fire and I like Chicago because it shows the neighborhoods that I knew in
Right.
Chicago.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Well,
it
yeah,
shows me.
the Law and Orders do that too. You always see the streets, Yeah.
But it's curious. Somebody asked me not long ago. They said, "How many of those actors on that Chicago shows are from Chicago?" I said, "I have no way of knowing. I
Yeah.
think most of them are from New York."
I would think. I'm sure in a lot of the smaller parts, if not the leads, I'm
Yeah.
sure they use a lot of local hires.
I was real quick. I was talking to a friend of mine who's been on The Young and the Restless forever and a day, and I said, "What's the difference between the young actors coming on set now, being cast as compared to 20 years ago?" He said, "They've got so many miles in theater and so much mileage on film. Yeah,
Now?
nowadays compared to what it used to be years ago." He said, "Soaps used to be the place where you could get a lot of training, get a lot of
Right.
just cut your teeth." He said now they come in, they've already got 10, 15 years behind them of
Wow.
stuff. Yeah, especially even the one girl who just got through playing Victor Newman's granddaughter. She's off to college, but she's been at it since she was 3 years old, and she was on the show till she was 19 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I just got contacted by Emma Sams, who was on General Hospital,
Oh
who I was
yeah.
on. She was my love interest on Dynasty, and she lives in England. But she just wrote to me yesterday. She's in She's back in LA because they brought her back on General Hospital for a couple of months. So, and
Oh,
she was on General Hospital. Let's see, Dynasty was 32 years ago. Said she was on General Hospital probably 35 years ago, and they just brought her character back.
are you going to see her while she's in town?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we are next Saturday night. I'm going to meet her new husband.
That'll.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
is that stinging a little bit?
No, no, no. We've been good friends for years. No, no.
That
Just haven't
stings
met her.
me. I had a crush on her. I had a crush
Wow.
on her. I had a crush on her. Hey, you
Beautiful.
have been a gem for willing to come on here. I appreciate it from the bottom of
This
my
is the
heart.
last time, by the way.
No, it's not, and you know it's not. Anyway, I wish you all the very, very best. I'll be talking to you. I would normally say stick around after the show, but you got to go and do some stuff.
I got to get rid of the water.
All right, listen, you take good care of yourself. God bless you, Ray Abruzzo.
All right,
I love
Gary.
you. I
Next
love you,
time, let
man.
me know. I'm going to be on camera. I'll dress up.
You'll always be on camera.
Yeah, I'll do the Frank.
Next
Vincent,
time we'll send over some makeup people for you.
I do need 2.5 hours generally. Hair and makeup.
All right, Booby, you take care.
Later.
All right. And I want to thank all of you out there for taking the time to join us here on Main Street. We'll have another show for you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Hope you enjoyed this one. We're going to start showing these back on Facebook here real soon. So if you missed this show, you can catch it again. And I just want to thank you. I also want to thank Grant and Michael Miller for giving me the opportunity here on the Community News Network. And I also want to thank Julian, my nephew, for being my executive producer today, along with Rick Del Vecchio. And I want to thank the Japanese Gardens and the Elks for their continued support of this particular program. And thank you to everyone at Community News Network for all your help of putting this show together. Until next week, take care of yourselves and each other.